All right, everybody, welcome in. We have the man himself, the voice of the captain, in collaboration with KQM. This is live here and on their Twitch right now, and I think we're about ready to get started. So, Chris Tergliafera is a voice actor, most notably known for his extensive work in video games and animation. Presently, he can be heard in several shows, including the recurring character of the Lizard Bounty Hunter from Rasticor, I think that's right, in the hit animated series Star versus the Forces of Evil on Disney XD, and the powerful fortune teller Avdol in the fan phenomena series JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders on Adult Swim. In video games, he plays the main antagonist Sigma and Ultron Sigma in the massive Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity. Chris is also known to be featured in other huge series such as God of War 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, Halo Wars 2, Mass Effect Armageddon, Star Wars Uprising, and the cult favorite Dragon Rampa.
Indeed. Chris is a little bit of a legend, and by little bit I mean he is a huge legend in the voice acting scene. Personally, I am crazy about the fact that you voiced Sigma as a Mega Man fan growing up. Like that's mind blowing to me. Chris, do you wanna tell us a little about yourself before we head into the questions?
Sure. I just realized I need to update my IMDb.
Hey.
That was written by my agent a while ago, whenever I was referring to Star versus the Force of Evil still being on. Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Tergliafera. I voice some things, and very happy to be here. I voice in Genshin Impact. You probably know me as Yomiya's dad. I'm here to talk about all things fireworks here tonight. Or today, wherever in the world you are. It's morning here, but it's raining, so my sense of time is off.
Yoimiya's dad, indeed.
It's I would rather it be sunny every single day out here, except this is like the first time I've ever been out here, and thank God we have rain. So I'm hoping this is like the final death blow to the fire. So.
Yeah, those fires were actually terrifying.
And
It's truly devastating.
Yeah, no, it's been terrible, but hopefully we can just start rebuilding at this point. But right now, though, the rain's it's really cozy in my room right now. I've got a skylight and the rain's pitter pattering, so very excited to be here. So, here to answer questions.
All right. Speaking of questions, let's head in for some questions from the community. All right. The real opener here. How did you get your role as Capitano, and how did you feel after getting the role? Did you have any experience with Genshin? Did you know anything about it beforehand?
Well, I had been Yomiya's dad, so I did know about Genshin, and I was in Genshin, but for that, the audience, I was just reading on screen. If you put words on screen, I'll read it. I just saw the audience up there. The audition that I received, I had no idea it was Genshin. It was under a nonsensical fake title, which is not uncommon for video games. But I'm not going to give away the exact title, but it was something along the lines of like Manticore Destroyer was the name of the game. That's not what the code name was, but it was something equally ridiculous. And they take out all the proper names in there. There was one that if I had been playing Genshin a lot, I would have noticed, but I had no idea it was Genshin. And then I saw it, I did, and did my prep for it, and I was like, actually, I think I'm right in the wheelhouse of this guy. I'm not gonna do much as far as affecting my voice. It's just going to be about building the character and not trying to put anything on it. A lot of times whenever, the sides say something like, this man is the king or leader, or this is the strongest person in the world, and, they mention like they have a deep voice, I think the tendency is, even if you already have some of those qualities, is to double down on it. They call that double dipping the cell. So, if I ever get specs for anything that says a deep voice, it's really silly for me to make my voice deeper with it, because I already fit the specs. My voice is naturally deep. One of the biggest compliments I was paid, it wasn't on this audition, but it was with someone that worked on another project I'm working on when I got a role similar to Capitano. But he said everyone was forcing it because of the status of this character, and you had a very comfortable strength to you. And that was the highest compliment I've been paid, because a lot of times throughout my career, I was like, my strength is my deep voice. So let's always go with that. And let's always just show everyone how strong and powerful my voice is. But if you're truly confident and the truly strong people in this world, they don't need to raise their voice. They don't need to rush. Everyone simply knows. So with that, I just let the character speak for itself. And also, whenever you're voicing a character where, I didn't see the art of Capitano until Winter Night's Lazo. Whenever you see that, if there is someone that is that imposing, you don't need to add anything to it. Let that do the talking for you. So I got them. Later on, I did the audition, and then later on, they said, "You've been booked for Genshin." And I said, "Great. What sort of role is this? I don't remember auditioning for it." And my agents they ignored this question for a long, long time. So I finally got the session, and it was the day before. I was like, well, can I at least get the script, even if you can't find the audition that they booked me off of? And I get the script, and it's the Winter Night's Lazo lines. And with that, it says the captain. And I thought I booked something big. I thought this was a bigger role. The captain, what are we, on a dock? Like, it's like, this guy doesn't even have a name. This is Soldier B.A. again, which, by the way, I love playing Soldier B. I love playing Thug 2. I love that stuff. I just thought there was going to be something more to this one, the way they were talking. And then I was like, all right, fine, I'll go. And, there was one of my friends actually played Genshin. So without saying anything, there's that line, what is it? Dottore. What of Scaramouche and the Gnosis from Inazuma? Well, I didn't know what any of those words meant. So I asked my friend, I was like, who's this? Who's this? Who's this? Who's this? And they told me. And then I went into the session. It was a remote session, and they get on the phone, or they get on the call, and, I think it's going to be it's like 3 lines. I'm like, we're going to be in and out of here in 5 minutes. This isn't that important. This, captain on the dock, nobody's going to really care. And then anyway, they got on and they explained what this was, and they played my audition, and I remembered the audition. I was like, oh gosh. And I like to have a lot of time to prep, but luckily with that, we had 2 hours for that record, and literally the first hour was just discussing Capitano, and it was really, really awesome. And yeah, I was very excited, and then I had to wait 2 years for to do anything else. But yeah, that's the story of how I got him.
Definitely playing the long game there. But that like, you got the captain, so it was. How did you feel, like, when you realized just how important of a character he is, like how big of a role that it actually was, as opposed to, like the ship's captain, a boat's captain?
I think I don't get nervous anymore about auditions or work. I've had so many close calls throughout, I started, my first voiceover class was 2006. Oof. It took me a long, long time to get to where I am. I very much was a level 1 actor that, I took a bunch of voiceover classes, and then later on, I realized I needed to have a theater background. So, when I was 32, I went to acting school again for 3 years, and, doing that all while still doing voiceover. But it really brought me up to a place where I felt comfortable with my acting, and I knew I had something to give out there. And with that, as far as, in the past, I may have been like, oh gosh, I can't mess this up. I can't. But really, and this is advice for any actors out there, really don't think about the outcome of the role. Just think about the character and of being service to the scene and the story you're telling. If you do that, it takes the pressure off of you. You just get to live this life. You get to go in, be this character, and just, I studied Meisner, and I love his definition of acting, which is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances. If you go in and do that, if I had got this role when I was 27, I would have, been like, oh gosh, I gotta bring it. I got so much riding on it. But, really, you have to care if it's not, you have to basically say, I don't care if this sounds good or not. I just want to be of service to this project. So really it's been neat, and it's been such a wonderfully well-written character that I've loved it, but there was no moment where I thought this is too big for me. I thought, no, this makes sense.
Okay, we like the confidence. Very, very appropriate for the captain.
Absolutely.
With that, with the confidence in that, kind of parallel to the captain, I kind of went into this. Whenever you think about what it takes to be the strongest, there's a lot of, it just doesn't happen. I've never been a big fan of stories like where there's a prodigy character. Harry Potter, whenever I found out he killed Voldemort as a baby, I'm like, is this going to be the final showdown, the one we already saw where he beat him when he was a baby? I know there's more to it. And sorry to any Harry Potter fans out there, but when the series finished, I asked somebody, it's like, was the showdown Harry Potter versus Voldemort and Harry Potter won? And they said yes. I was like, oh, sorry for any spoilers. Oh gosh. Well, hopefully everyone knows that.
It's been out for a little bit. I think people, if people were going to get spoiled,
I think you can pick it up. I mean, I haven't watched it, but I gleaned that. I was like, okay, I'm not really interested in that. But so with that, Capitano, I think he's gone through, obviously, as everyone knows, so much that, he doesn't worry about living or dying. I mean, it's mainly because of that curse, but it's also just everything he's went to get to for that moment. And once you've done that, you've already experienced those highs and lows, and it kind of levels out to a quiet confidence.
Yeah, I've survived worse, so this doesn't faze me. I don't even think about it, kind of situation.
Right. And whenever you've been humbled that much, it's just, it's rejection doesn't faze you either, which I think is a wonderful gift.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, that's enlightening. Ash, are you still with us? Do you want to take over the next question?
Absolutely.
All right.
All right, so our next question is going to be, how do you feel about the captain, or Il Capitano, as a character, and what do you like about him, as a person, as his morals, etc.?
I'll try to make this short. There's a lot. I mean, I journaled as this character. I mean, this summer, without going into too many specifics, I was laid up for about 6 weeks where I couldn't leave the house. I got really badly sick in my whole right leg, from my foot to my IT band to my knee. I had hip bursitis. I was in constant pain for 6 weeks where also I had eustachian tube dysfunction, so I couldn't really hear. And so I couldn't audition. I couldn't go outside the house. I couldn't really do anything except really prep for this role that I hoped was coming. So I joked around where whenever I was just laying in bed, which I couldn't lay in bed that much because it hurts too much. You have to get up and walk. It was really hard. It wasn't like resting. It was just waking up at 3 a.m. for 6 weeks and like, I feel for anyone that deals with chronic pain. I don't know. If anyone out there deals with that, y'all are so brave for, getting up and still managing this life. It's just so difficult. So during that time, I just had a lot of time to prep and think. And, I kind of joked around that I was just going full-time Capitano for that period of time. But one of the many things I like about him is the fact that he can admit when he's wrong, and he's not so stubborn or rigid to he honestly wants the best outcome. It doesn't matter where the idea comes from. And that's something that, we see it in politics in every single nation where it's become a team sport where, even something's a good idea, they will kill it because it doesn't help their party, because the other party came up with it, even if it's for the greater good. And with Capitano, the fact that he was willing to go with Malwika's plan, I really love that. I love that he can admit defeat. I think that is such a honorable, and it's just the right thing to do. I think, it shows such weakness when you make excuses when it's like, no, it's flat out beat. And also, whenever you admit you're wrong, I love being wrong because it shows you learned something and you won't be wrong the next time and you're not so stuck in your ways. So I love that growth with Capitano because he didn't have an ego about him. I mean, you're talking about being number one harbinger and so strong. I mean, if he was evil, or if he was a blowhard, or if he was an egomaniac, who knows what sort of terror he could, just impose on others with that. And instead, he's actually a steadying hand of the harbingers. And that's something I really love. The fact that he can admit when he lost, and also that he's not so rigid with his plan that he can change his mind. When he gets new information, he's willing to go along with it and try that because he honestly just wants the best for others.
Yeah, you said something that really just stuck out just now, saying that he's the steadying hand. It makes people, really wonder, now that the steadying hand is gone, who knows what's to come next?
That's a very, very interesting thing. We see this all the time. And this is just in general in other media and stories where in real life, the power vacuum that happens whenever the leader goes down. I mean, you look at, let's just go to a basics. Actually, it's not really, I guess the story's basic, but it's beautiful. Lion King. You have Mufasa, who's the steadying hand of that. He goes down and everything, falls apart. And, you can look at Game of Thrones when even as much as Robert Baratheon was not a good king, he was the steadying hand. And when he goes down, it creates this power vacuum of everyone lobbying for, position. It's that old phrase, the old king is dead, long live the king, where people's memories are very short. I'm sure you've all been at a place of business where you've had a coworker or a boss, and perhaps they were a great one that is like, that's the glue of the company. That keeps this operation running. That's what the show is. And then when they leave, at first you think, oh gosh, how is this going to function? But eventually it does, and that person's forgotten. It happens all the time. No one is irreplaceable. So it's a shock at first, but I'm interested to see where the story goes with it.
Yeah, it ended on a definite cliffhanger there. And with all of his stuff that he had going on, it's definitely going to be an interesting task moving forward.
Completely.
Eris, do you want to do the next question?
Yeah, honestly, I'm just busy writing all of this down because there are so many nuggets coming out of you today.
Oh,
This
absolutely. He's got
this
he's like a
is
gold mine.
yeah, this is phenomenal, honestly. And yeah, I do agree with you. Time makes a memory out of everyone, and with enough time, even memories end up fading.
Completely.
All right, we can head on to the next one. Okay. Um, we kind of touched on this earlier, but when you fully embraced the role of the captain and you were going into the Natlan story, did they give you any context of events happening before that? Did you know what the story would progress to? How much did you know about everything as you were fully embracing the role?
It's hard to say because I'm going to respectfully pass on that question, only because I answered this, and then I saw someone said Chris didn't know anything about this thing at this point, and I was like, no, I did, and so with as far as they gave me a lot of information. There was not, it was the first. Whenever I went in for the, from that point forward, I asked a lot of questions in that one. I went in, I asked, I think my first thing that I got there is like, am I the Bloodstained Knight? And it was like, they didn't confirm or deny that, but I think it never came up again. So it doesn't line up with the lore of that. So that was my guess with it. But, however, after that, I everything that came in, luckily though, the prep with that, I thought mirrored it very, very well. There were a lot of similar aspects with it. So, but whenever I went, I learned a lot. It wasn't just, I've worked on games where, you have a line. Let's say where it was there was one game I worked on where it was like, I'm just going to keep using the word manticore just so I don't that'll be my generic MacGuffin word. But it's like the manticore invasion has destroyed, Tallyland, and, Erasmus is coming. And then I'll ask all these questions about well, what was that like? That we don't know. Well, what's Talleyrand like? We don't know. Well, who's Erasmus? Is this good that he's coming, or is it bad that he's coming? We don't know. And then it's like, okay, cool. Then you're just kind of shooting in the dark. But Hoyo and their writers were just very, very, they're very detailed oriented, and really know how to craft a story and give you the backstory with it. So I knew a lot, but that's all I will say. It wasn't the rumors of me going in and being like, what's this? Besides that very, very first record. And even then, whenever I got into the session, I learned everything. So there wasn't, I knew a lot of things that, honestly, a lot of times whenever I think there are certain things I've learned in a session, I'm like, that's huge. And I will literally get my friend's phone, go into incognito mode, and search for certain words to see if anyone has guessed it. Mm-hmm. So just in case anyone got to mine, I was very discreet, but I was like, wait, is this at all public? Is anyone guessed this? And then when I found out no, I'm like, oh gosh. So I just log it in the back of my head, and I just make sure to never bring it up in public. So a lot of things I'm hiding from, I just have never told anyone. So that's kind of my process with it. So when I get questions about what'd you know when, if it goes into that back part of my head of this is never coming out of your mouth, Chris, then I just kind of forget the time frame of it.
Mm-hmm. So just lock and key, just forget about it, hide it behind something else.
Mm-hmm.
The recesses of the mind.
Yeah, Anna, yeah, I can get that. All right. I think we can skip over the next couple of questions, unless you want to talk about them, Chris. Mainly story elements related. The sacrifice, particularly your reaction to when you recorded that. How did you feel?
I won't get as emotional as I did on the other podcast because it takes me to a really heavy place, and so I'll keep it lighter. Mm-hmm. It was, I got the I got the script in advance, so I was able to prep for it, but it was every time I did Capitano, the day before, with Meisner, there's something called emotional preparation where
one of the three core elements.
Right, yeah, completely. So that's and I would really get into that headspace, and especially with as many souls that he had with him, that was such a heavy thing. And knowing that I would have to sacrifice myself for it and confront the being that did this to everyone. So I really had strong visuals of these souls inside me, and I related to people I knew. and was just thinking about all those times where they're just trapped in there and crying, and not, I don't have the idea that they're constantly crying. It's just this cold isolation that Capitano just says, don't worry, I will get you home. And finally it comes down to that, and he's able to confront that bully, that abuser, with Renova. And it was, before I left for the record, I wrote a goodbye note, which isn't to be confused with a suicide note, because this wasn't, I can't go on. It's, I have to do this. And I hope everyone understands, because it wasn't about, I need to die. It's like, I need to take these people home, and sacrificing myself is the only way. So I wrote it to some of my, I addressed it to my family and a few of my friends. And then when I was driving to the record, it was a really odd feeling of, I had a dinner planned that night, and you're thinking that dinner's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. That thing you have planned for tomorrow is not going to happen. So it was heavy, and you go in there, and it was kind of an out of body experience. I wasn't planning on, I didn't know how it was going to come out. Because, this was as cool and collected as Capitano's been, whenever confronting Renova, I didn't want this to be he has his play, but I didn't want this to be kind of a Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm playing this card thing, where it's cool, calm, and collected. It was a chance to tell that thing, this is what you did, and here's how I'm going to stop you. And I'm going to trick you. And I have the upper hand now. What are you going to do about it? And whenever he was saying those things about Conria, and I was thinking about what they did, and he was when he says there were some terrible things, there were things I had about, different things where I'm like, no, they did do terrible things, but just because we were in this country doesn't mean these people deserved it too. In that last part, it honestly kind of came out, myself included, almost where, because even whenever I was doing it, that part just kind of got spit out, because it was like, and I'm going to tell you, it hurt me too, and I didn't deserve that. So when I did it, it was just, I was just very much, I said whenever I did this emotional prep, I would break myself down, but I mentioned this in another interview, where I would do that, and then I would always wake myself out of it by knocking, and then it would be, someone at the door saying, "My lord, the enemies are at the gates. What do we do?" And at that point, you have to be strong. It's not you can't feel sorry for yourself anymore. You can't dwell on the pain. And I think Capitano draws his strength from others. When he hears that, he knows what he has to do, and that gives him strength. He's not the strongest just because he worked hard. It's because when those souls look at him, he knows they're counting on him, and he won't let them down. So when you can do that, that's where I think true strength comes from. It's not a big, boisterous voice or anything like that. It's where throughout the pain, you can be strong for others because they need you. So whenever I was doing that, the last scene against Renova, I was just, it was an out-of-body thing. And then when I came home, I saw that I had written them in Word, those goodbye letters, and I went, oh my God. And I was like, Chris, let's get back. Let's get back to your happy self. Let's do that. I immediately deleted them. Like, we're not dying anytime soon, Chris. That's a roll. So, got out, had a good dinner with my friend. And it was just a very emotionally trying scene. And, but that's what acting is, I feel very blessed to do that because, not every role calls for that. And I'm glad every role does not call for that because it's a lot, but I was thankful for it, and it made me a better person. And I don't know, it did something. I don't know. It it hit a part of me that I don't think that I had hidden for a long time. There was a vulnerable part of me that I hadn't allowed out for a long time. There was a period in my 30s where I think I went like years without crying. I think, and I didn't see the purpose in it. I don't know. And now, I can have my emotions move to tears every day. And a lot of times they do, where it's not even sad crying. I'll just see something that moves me. I just let myself feel these things now, and I don't put up this barrier. And it's vulnerable. It's not always fun, but it's what life is. And it's something that I think this role allowed me to tap into even more. So I just feel very honored. And that was what went into the final scene with going home. And it was and then just with Guthred, there was a person in mind that's very close to me. So whenever I saw Guthred pop up again, because I had already done my prep with Guthred when I was talking about how he made that the cure for abyssal syndrome. So whenever they said this time let's go together, it meant something to me.
Man, I'm speechless, honestly. Honestly, it's phenomenal work. The amount of effort and connection that you have, it is really, really apparent. And honestly, thank you for delivering such a stellar performance.
Yeah,
It
you can like
is.
really tell the thought that went into it.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. It's been it was. I knew I was doing the right thing recording the role whenever I was at Queen City Anime, and this was before anything had been released. It was only the have been released, and there was a girl who went through a very similar thing to me, and she had to drop out of college because of chronic pain, and she could only move around her house. And really the thing that she said kept her going was she could join her friends in Genshin and explore. And she loved these stories so much. And I thought, that's worth telling. That's worth more than anything. That's, and whenever Capitano had that, no rule unbreakable, that we only get one chance at this life. And there are certain things that if you're given the opportunity, you can't skip, especially when it means something to other people. Whenever these emotions, that's what life is. And whenever I heard that, and she had been going through something similar, where and we were both very healthy, and then it hits you. I just thought, are there any more people like us that have gone through this? That life's tough, and it's getting tougher, and things pop up that it's where I'm stuck on that that executive order where with the two genders, where what's this going to do to everyone who has X on their passport? How are people going to abuse this law and put it? It's something where if Genshin can provide an outlet to these things that are going through that are out there, that's a story I want to be a part of. So getting to meet so many of y'all and hear your stories, it's something that really means the same. And just on that other one, that sorry to bring up real life into it. I mean, really look out for your trans and non-binary friends at this point. It's up to all of us to be vigilant. And if someone's getting harassed for that, it behooves all of us to really be on our guard and protect our friends.
Absolutely. The world we're living in right now is definitely not the same it was before.
Yeah, we are definitely heading into very uncertain times, not just in the US, but across the globe in general. Things
Completely.
are looking a little bit suspect, but like the man himself said, it's up to everyone together to take care of ourselves and the people around us.
Definitely. Do you happen to have any fun questions? I feel like I've broadened down the mood a little bit.
No. You did not. You did not. This is important, and I don't know if you can see the chat on Twitch right now, for example, but people are very on board. People are loving this. We've gotten
Same with
multiple
Discord.
thank yous for sharing this.
Of course. But still, let's do a fun question.
For sure.
That's also a very important part of life, to have fun.
Okay. Let's do one fun question real quick, and then we can take some from the audience.
I can pull up the paper and grab one of the fun ones.
All right, go for it. Go for it real
Let's
quick.
see here. What fun ones do we have? Okay, this is a fun one. So, if Capitano was to miraculously become playable in the future, and you got to pick what weapon he got to use and what element he would have, what would you choose for him?
Oh, I would just go with the sword. I mean, I like I love his sword, so I just keep that. I was very happy with whenever, I don't know if, there's a lot of different. First off, I'll just go ahead and say, I know absolutely nothing about the future of this character. I know absolutely nothing. And I won't unless they ever, that's all I will say about that. So if anyone tries to glean anything I say is like, oh, he said this, and this means that, honestly, I know nothing. I can't break an NDA for the future because I don't know anything, and Hoyo knows I don't know anything, and I don't want them to tell me anything. So I can 100%. And then in the future, if I do learn anything, I'm going to say I don't know anyway. So there's no point in asking me. But I can 1,000% say like, I don't know anything unless I do. No, I'm just joking. But I know I like his ice sword, and with things like that, I never want to put my own. I love seeing what comes out of the development team, and let's say I said I wanted him to be Dendro, which no, I'll say that's no, that would be so.
Imagine it all.
That would be awful. Like user Dendro, just oh god.
I mean, honestly, the
good.
real answer here should be Pyro Bow, because Yoimiya, your character's daughter. Come on.
Yeah. No. So it's. I liked his ice attacks. So anyway, I would go with that. So yeah, that's all I'll say on that question.
All right. I mean, I think many people would agree with ice and sword. It would be
Absolutely.
very appropriate
cool.
for him.
But I did prefer sword rather than claymore. I bought ice, which is Eddard Stort. I used to be a huge Game of Thrones fan. Now not, but dude. This book's not being finished.
Dude, okay. Just a little side note. I don't know if you saw this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you see that George Martin co-authored a physics paper on a fictional alien virus? It just came out like several hours ago, like yesterday or the day before, I think. I did not believe it when I heard it.
Oh, I believe it. He'll literally write anything except the last 2 books.
That is literally word for word what I said as soon as I heard that.
It's something where if you want to clean your room, give yourself a task at your desk you don't want to do. And it's like, oh, well, I'll do everything but this. So anyway, I have strong feelings about that. Regardless, the thing is with the I bought ice. It's a huge sword. It's a claymore, and I know Capitan is strong enough to wield it, but it's
so unwieldy.
Yeah, and it's just it's a slower moving attack. I like the sword, so that's I'll just say I was happy about that, even though I saw other people like, no, we lost the claymore. It's like I love the sword. I was happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's fair. Ice in particular is like even in canon it is like everyone that sees it is like that is ridiculous. That is a ridiculous weapon. How are you swinging that around?
Right. Yeah. Oh, I mean, they never do. I mean, Eddard Stark only uses that sword as an executioner blade, and that's really all you. The only guy I know that can wield that sword is my buddy Hank, and my buddy Hank is Megatron. He's the body, and he's the one that can control that huge suit. So you're looking at like 6'4", a specimen who also works out, just a genetic freak of nature. And he can pick it up with one hand. And one time he acted like he mimed like he was chopping bread with it, and I could never. I mean, like one hand it just clunks to the ground. So it's just such a heavy sword.
Okay, we should maybe get him to cosplay something. That I think he would be very popular with the fans. There are a lot of big characters out there. But yeah, okay. We have a little time. I think we can do one or two questions from the audience real quick. We don't want to take up too much of your time.
We can stay. I don't have anywhere to go right now, so we're good.
All right.
All right.
I can bring up a couple people here. Well, one at a time, obviously. First one up is going to be Kyo.
Hello, Kyo.
Hello. How are you guys? So I have like a question. If you had any opportunity to voice any other character from Hoyo games, who would it be?
This is something that I just out of respect of other voice actors, I never answer. Also, I never really pined to voice a certain role. I'm very happy with the ones I get, and I try to bring the most to them, but I never really get envious about anything. So really, whenever I hear something, I just admire it for what it is. And yeah, so there's never, as far as like voice prints, I couldn't be as refined as Keith Silverstein as Zhongli, but I think as far as like where else would you put me? I mean, I couldn't voice Child. That's not going to work, So, and there are a lot of voices in Genshin aren't in the basement like mine. So I would really say my roles are quite limited with that. I think Piero would have been an option if, we're just looking at voice prints, but, I think Richard Tatum's does a better job at that than I am. So I think everyone's put in the right place.
Yeah, but I'm like asking if you want, like, is there a character you would have liked to voice? Like, not like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, not in a way that you're envious of the other person who voices it, but like, if you wanted to.
If I'm understanding correctly, is your question, are there any characters that you connect to on a more personal level that you would like to portray?
Yeah.
Yeah. There are characters I enjoy, but there's none I would like to voice, honestly. It's just I just don't even go down that route. My brain's just not wired like that. I very much love seeing other people's successes, and even if I'm a fan of Paimon. I mean, I think Core I mentioned this in the other interview. Paimon makes me laugh, and I mean, Core is carrying that story with so much, and Core is not in there doing office work. That's got to be a difficult voice to maintain, and they give it so many different levels, from funny to, manic to, I guess you could say obnoxious at points to really heartfelt and caring. And, you have a silent protagonist, and, you could have something in there like a Navi from Link, Zelda 64, which, listen, where that's just That was just pure annoying. But so I really love Paimon, but it's not like I could ever. I mean, my voice would. I could voice maybe 15 minutes of Paimon and then tap out, and it would be bad and scary, and people would hate it. They would.
Okay,
They would. They would. No one would be okay with it.
What if you just voice Paimon in your normal voice? Just deep, strong Paimon. And she's making all of those normal Paimon expressions, but that's her voice. Honestly, I think it'd be a hit. I think it'd be amazing.
I think it would be funny for a brief 60-second YouTube video. But then after that, as far as going through the game, I think it would be too weird.
It would be absolute cinema. But thank you for coming tonight. I will be going now. I just want to say that I really love your work, and thank you for bringing me today on the stage. Bye bye.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming up.
Thank
you,
you.
Kyo.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's see who we have on here next. Let's see if it'll let me click on them. There we go.
Oh,
Hello,
British
500.
Kazuman. Welcome.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm out right now, so it's going to be really terrible. Really terrible quality. So my question to you is, do you think it's what percent? Because previously we had in Europe get deleted by Raiden Shogun, and they got.
Sorry,
Hard to hear.
yeah, it's, yeah. Do you think you can move somewhere with less echo? Maybe move your mic closer?
I am on mobile. I'm at a restaurant right now.
That is better. Can you ask the question again, please?
Really? Right, so this is clear, right?
It's better, yes.
Right.
Okay, so do you think Capitano has got a proper sender? Because we had Signor get deleted by Raiden, we had Damage delete himself. Do you think with Capitano sacrifice it was proper?
Okay, I think the question was, do you think Capitano got a proper ending, a proper finale to the story?
Oh, with any questions, I'll just go ahead and say that with any questions about with the ending or anything, I was very happy with everything that the writing for Capitano. Yeah, so it's a yeah. I was very happy with the writing and everything, how it went down. It's something where that's never my place to say with other things, because it's the story's not done yet, and I'm not even talking about Capitano's story's not done yet. I mean the story as a whole. So really, until that media is done, until the main story is done, maybe you look back, if Capitano never comes back, and it's like, actually, with all the things that happened, it was right that he never came back. So I really can't. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the question, Kazuman. I think we can move on to the next person.
Hello?
Hello, nameless entity.
Hello. I apologize to the British in advance.
Never apologize for that. I love it.
What do you think that Capitano would dip biscuits in tea?
Oh god, this question again. Oh.
It's the same person.
I would. Now, is this, and forgive me if I'm wrong, biscuits as in what Americans would refer to as cookies?
Yeah.
Okay. Milk, I think. I very much. I mean, I do that. I have milk to try to, at least I'm getting some protein, and I like cookies and milk. And I think he would be traditional in that. So if he did have, that's what I would say. Just kind of a nice, wholesome cookies and milk thing, having a treat, but also getting his protein in the meantime.
All right. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for coming up. Let's bring up the next one.
I think
See
we
who we
can
got
do
here.
one last one from the audience.
Let me see who I got on here.
But yeah, personally,
Here's
I
one.
agree. Cookies and milk, cookies and tea. Not.
Oreos and milk.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can, Mio.
Yeah.
Hi. My question was, what would you say your top 3 favorite animes would be? Like from any genre, if you're an anime fan.
I would say I like JoJo's. I like the different time periods they go to, and I like that. I like shows that switch up the tone, between seasons to a certain extent and give you something different. So I like JoJo's. I like Cells at Work a lot. And there was another Cells at Work. I think is fun. And there's another anime called Odd Taxi that I thought was really cool. That those are all ones that I'm in. I guess I'm biased with it, but it's those are the ones I would say are my favorites.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you for your work being so amazing. You're an amazing voice actor.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Cells at Work was a good one. I remember when it was initially airing, it did pique a lot of people's interest in biology. There was definitely a shift on social media to more biology related questions. It's always good to have things like that end up happening.
Odd
Yeah.
Taxi is really good too.
Yeah, Odd Taxi's it's a very I won't say anything more about it, but check it out. It's it was a fun one. It also has one of my if anyone's ever watching, I won't spoil the moment. That's one of my favorite moments, but it's an interaction between I play a bodyguard of one of the characters, and there's a line I say to him towards the end where that really cracked me up. That I just really liked.
All right. Well, I'll
There's
add
a
it
lot
to
of
the
funny
list and
moments
check it
in
out.
that one.
We've gotten a fair share of requests for Chris narrated audiobooks. Any interest in doing that?
No, not at all. And I'll tell you why. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. You have to be in a controlled environment. You're talking a lot. And yeah, that's not I took a really good, if anyone wants to do it, there's a wonderful teacher, and she's a wonderful audiobook narrator named Crystal Lewis. And she teaches an excellent course on it. And I did that. And then, she asked for feedback on it. I said, this is great. I learned everything I would need to do to start my own audiobook business with it. I don't want to do this. This is too much talking. This is too much. So, no, that's the way I would say it is, I like, if I was a runner, I much prefer the sprints. And I can do, a longer sprint inside a track and field. Like, it doesn't have to be the 200, I can do a 800 or whatever. But as far as like a marathon, no, that's never interested me. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. It is a lot more consistent and exhaustive effort because you have to do it for such a long duration of time. And the other thing is that you also have to maintain like the same tone. For example, like throughout of it, you can't let your voice get too tired and sound different compared to like previous chapters, which I think a lot of people don't take into consideration. It is very tiring.
Also, I enjoy diving deeper into my auditions. I audition a lot less now. I used to be chained to my booth, and like every audition that came in, I was, running back. Really dominated my life. It made me extremely unhappy. It was, yeah. But now that, I'm very comfortable in my career and I feel very full with it, and I've gotten to do a lot of fun things, I only audition for things where it interests me or I think I can bring something special to it. And, I want it to where if any time they're hearing an audition from me, it's not just because, oh, my agent sent it to me. It's because I honestly wanted to do it. And I thought I had something special with it. And, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But yeah, if I was doing audiobooks, I would not have the stamina to do auditions. Or if I did, I would just be like, let me just say this. I've just been talking all day. Let me talk some more.
Mhm. Yeah, no, that's fair. That is entirely understandable. And to everyone asking about it, you should try to read one chapter, like in the same tone, and just see how long you can go for it. It's a lot harder.
It's also,
Out loud. Read it out loud.
yes.
I mean, also you have to be in a controlled environment. You're talking about punching and rolling. And what that is since you're in the same tone, let's say, let me just say, we are a devoted theory crafting community for English Genshin Impact and Honkai Star. And then what you would, I purposely messed up there. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
But then to do that again, what you would play back, we are devoted to theory. You'll be playing that and then you'll mimic yourself playing it again so you can roll right into it rather than starting at Honkai Star Rail, because if it says, then it's going to sound like, we are devoted to the theory crafting community for English Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. Join us. And, so you have to keep it all in the same tone. So but here is the one thing for anyone out there with audiobooks. Anyone that has worked hard at them has succeeded. You can build up your career by, the first jobs you take, you're going to have to offer rates where with all the editing and as you learn it, you're probably going to make around, with editing time and recording time, around like $7 an hour, something really low. But once you get that under your belt, you'll have credits for it. People like your work, you'll get bigger books and you work your way up. So I've seen that happen countless times with people that apply themselves to audiobooks. It's really something where if you have a modicum of talent with your voice and you work hard at audiobooks, you can succeed in it. And if you work hard at it, I have not seen anyone that's like, I keep trying at audiobooks, but I'm not succeeding. And then it's like, well, if everyone has a high success rate with it, why don't more people do it? And it's because it's so much work. It's so much work. So, people succeeding in it, there's some people like me that, have a cup of tea trying to, discussing whether he wants to do audiobooks and then just says, I'm out. So you're not competing against me and you're not competing against a lot of other people because it is a lot of work and you can build yourself up. And, there's one of my buddies, he's a voice actor and he's out there. And but he has a separate name for the romance novels that he does. And he's been building his career as a voice actor. He's done a lot of cool things. And y'all know him. But he hasn't like hit that truly, or I would say he's hit it. It's just he hasn't received the outside attention for it. However, his bread and butter was just doing audiobooks and he started doing romance books under a different name. And that name's blown up. And he's built and then he said, I'm kind of going to pivot over to this romance novel route just because he built up a nice little career in that regard. And it's something that I think is really cool. And you can do that and I think even now, like if I was doing it, I wouldn't, luckily I feel like with things involving romance and those things that at one point would be like, oh, I can't believe you're talking about this. I feel like unless it's something really pale or gauche, the clutching of pearls about like, narrating a romance novel, I don't think that's a stigma anymore, and it shouldn't be. But, he's built it up with this other character and, kind of wants to keep the world separate. So I just think that's neat. So Yeah, if anybody out, also another thing, if you are doing audiobooks though, that's such a great way to read out loud, which is like the number, like starting off, if you want to get into voiceover, first off, train yourself to be an actor, like on camera and theater. That's the biggest thing you can do. And read out loud. So if you're doing audiobooks, you're reading out loud. And I mean, your mouth is a muscle. I mean, whenever I don't drink, but I have several wine corks with me. And before a session, I'll put one between my teeth and I will start, going through reading out loud with that to just basically, it's the same premise of a baseball player before when he's in the at-bat circle, he puts weights on his bat to swing it, so it's heavier. And then whenever he goes up to bat, he takes that off, and the bat feels so much lighter because the weight's gone. And I do the same thing with the cork, where you try to make that perfect diction. Same thing whenever, was it Plato or Socrates, where they used to talk with pebbles in their mouth, and they got to where they could be crystal clear, and that's how they got over their stutter, just by training their mouth. So anyway, that's kind of a neat thing if you ever want to get into audiobooks.
I never really realized how much went behind making an audiobook. There's a lot to that. A lot more than you would expect.
Oh yeah, I hats off to anyone who doesn't.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely like the common issue I think is that a lot of people just see the end result and not the process that gets you these results. So it's a lot harder to connect to it to understand just how much effort goes into all of this.
Completely.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like when you go to the store and you buy something, you don't know what all's behind it. So it would obviously also apply to things like this. People just don't think about it.
Hmm.
Completely.
Because the end performance is still also just like the end result. It isn't. It isn't the process itself. And it's always fascinating hearing this from people that do these things directly because everyone has like all of these different variations to how they go about doing things. Their process, their approach, and it's always interesting and fascinating to talk to people and learn more about it. It is also very common to get a lot of similar questions. Oh, how do you get into X acting? Or, how do you get into this branch of the performative arts? All of this stuff. So I think people are just very, very happy to hear you talk about it.
Good.
All right. I think we've taken up enough of your time today. I don't want to keep you any longer.
Well, thank you for having me. I'll plug a few things right now. Just
Absolutely.
some kind of exciting things going on. If y'all are in Florida, I'm actually going to begin back-to-back conventions in Orlando for Anime After Dark at MegaCon on February 7th and 8th in Orlando at MegaCon, and then the next week, I was just already staying with my parents in Pensacola and got invited to Pensacola Con. So if you're in the Pensacola area, I will be at Pensacon from February 14th to 16th. So if you're in Florida and any of those areas, I would love to see y'all. I love meeting y'all at conventions. I love just talking to y'all and hearing your stories. It's by far the best part of the job. And also, I'm teaching a workshop. If anybody has wondered about what goes into, I mean, I made my bread and butter off of playing, Soldier Number 2 or Thug Number 2, and I still get recurring work with that. And I would only teach a workshop if it was something that I consistently booked. While I'm in animated shows, I don't book enough regularly where I think I have the magic formula for it. But the great thing about, I teach this workshop called Grunt Work, which is an online workshop on Tuesday. But the thing I really like about it is it's something that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I always, whenever I'm fighting in a game, I want my enemies and I want the person I'm fighting with to actually sound like it. I want that effort. I want that passion in it. It always annoys me whenever, you're in this big fight and then a character goes, this strenuous fight where, health's low and all that. And then they do an attack and it's like, try this on for size. And it's like, what? Where's the effort? Where's the breath? Where's the passion in that? Where's the pain with that? And the reason I like teaching this workshop is, with stunt casting, with, main roles and social media followings, with these roles that you get, if you go and look at like Spider-Man's cast list for additional voices, a lot of us that did all the bad guys in it, you can, you don't have to be number one to book those roles where, if you're, let's say you were going up for Doc Ock and you were second, then you don't get anything. Because, there's only one Doc Ock. But with this, you really just have to be in the top 50 of these characters to get into it. And you will be invited back and back again when you make their session so much easier, when it's like, oh, wow, this person I know can do the effort. You would be surprised how many times, there was a project I was working on where I had to do another character that ended up having me do the lines for it. And they're like, we're just going to give this to them as line readings because this person's not quite getting it. So we're going to give them a few of your line readings and have them mimic you, and then to get them in that headspace. So if you are able to master these efforts, these call outs, make it believable, make it real, it's such a thing where whenever their casting directors are doing this, they can go, oh, I can count on this person. I can count on Sarah to bring the heat with this. And I know I'm not going to have to constantly coach them to be like, no, you really hate this person. You need to yell and all that. So, and I do it in a way where you learn how to protect your voice, because I've made so many mistakes with tearing out my voice for it. So anyway, I'm teaching that workshop on Tuesday, and it's something I'm passionate about. And I designed the workshop to where you take it once. I'm not looking for, this is like how you get your effort noises down pat. And when you go out, you feel confident in it. So anyway, just those are two things I'm stoked about, so I just wanted to share with y'all.
Absolutely. Where else can they find you, Chris?
I am still on X. I'm just there. I'm going through. I was looking at places to go. As far as moving, it's kind of like moving out of the U.S. All my stuff's here. All my stuff's on X. So that's a place. I use it for business, and Instagram. Instagram and X are the main ways where I put things out there. And you can find information on Twitter about the workshop and con appearances on Instagram. But those are the main places I use. And I'm going to be booting back up my TikTok, even though I heard that place got weird too. So I'm beginning to just kind of think like, oh. And I know like Blue Sky is a haven right now, but I've seen this happen so many different. I've seen this movie before where we're like, yay, and here's the good one, and then 3 years they do something. It's where someone rolls up and it's like, we're going to pay you $5 billion, and it's like, I can't fault the people that created this with altruistic reasons not taking the $5 billion. So anyway, I'm on Twitter and Instagram, and it's always my last name or either Chris Tergliafera. But and I do it just because I enjoy connecting with y'all.
Yep. If you guys want the links, I posted them in the Twitch chat. You can go and follow him right now, so you don't miss any future updates. And I will post them
here in the Discord for you guys. Again, thank you so much for coming in here today to talk to everybody. It really does mean a lot.
Oh, no, thank you so much for having me. Y'all have been so wonderful and so great and so supportive, and it really does mean the world to me. This has been such a fulfilling role, and it's because of y'all. I think it would be, if I just did this for myself, it's very self-indulgent, and it's about all of us, and these stories, they connect us and they remind us of our humanity. And as things get tougher, we look to art. We look to, how many poems, how many stories, how many shows, how many movies have, helped people when they're going through trying times. When everything's good, it's not, you kind of go to entertainment for something fun, but I know in my life, the things that I look back to are these stories, are these heroes when I was growing up, and I still think about them. And moments that stay with us from these games and these films and these shows that I just feel very honored to be a part of. And so, just thank you for allowing me to be a part of any of this with y'all. It's never lost on me, and it's always humbling. So thank you.
Honestly, it was our pleasure, and this was genuinely so much fun. I wish we could keep on going. It was very, very interesting.
Absolutely, it's a hero day.
Yeah, I don't think I could have enough of this. But like you said earlier, things are good because they eventually have to come to an end. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, I'm on. If I ever boot back up my Twitch, I just messaged in the chat. It's Tergliafera. So if you want to follow that.
Yeah, definitely check him out there, guys. Again, thank you, Chris. It was lovely having you on here.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all having me, and have a great rest of your day and a wonderful week.
You too. Take care.
You as well. Thank you.
Farewell, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.